She thought no one would ever be able to love her after what she heard, until that man looked into her eyes and said what changed everything. If you like stories like this, be sure to subscribe to this channel. We post every day, continuing. The scorching sun beat down on the asphalt as Anna Louise stepped off the dusty bus, her eyes squinted against the brightness of Hopewell. An ironic name for a place that barely appeared on the maps of rural New Hampshire. But that was exactly what she sought. Hope, however worn it might be. She carried, with her only a worn leather suitcase, a letter of recommendation folded in her dress pocket, and a secret that consumed her from within like rust on metal. The bus terminal was nothing more than a zinc roof over a cracked concrete patio. Anna walked on, the heel of her shoe echoing solitarily as she crossed the central square. A modest church dominated the center, surrounded by old houses with colors faded by time. Children played in the shade of ancient trees, curiously watching the stranger who walked with determined steps. Mrs. Zelia's boarding house is just around that corner. To the right, past Arthur's General Store, a man sitting on a park bench informed her, without her needing to ask. In small towns, outsiders were always noticed. The Springtime Inn was a yellow two-story house with blue windows, geraniums in the window boxes, and a hand-painted wooden sign. Mrs. Zelia, a woman in her 60s with gray hair tied in a firm bun and eyes that seemed to see beyond appearances, received her with poorly disguised curiosity. "So you're the new teacher?" she asked, scrutinizing her from head to toe as she led her to the second floor. The room isn't much, but it has a view of the back garden, and it's the only one with its own bathroom. Anna thanked her with a contained smile. The room was simple, a single bed with a floral bedspread, an antique dresser, a small dark wood wardrobe, and a desk under the window. But it was clean, and more importantly, it was almost 1,000 kilometers from London, 1,000 kilometers from Marcus. She sat on the bed after Mrs. Zelia left and allowed herself to cry one last time. She promised herself they would be the last tears dedicated to the man who had spent the last 7 years transforming her love into submission, her dignity into rags, her body into property. His words still echoed in her mind like knives. "A woman who can't have children isn't a complete woman. You owe me this." After a quick shower, she went downstairs to explore the small town. Hopewell had a main street where local businesses were concentrated. The general store, the pharmacy, a clothing shop, a butcher, a small market, and a cafe. At the end of the street, she saw the Maplewood Elementary School building, a simple single-story, construction with a fenced courtyard. That was where her new life would begin on Monday. On the way back, she stopped at the Swallow Cafe for a quick snack. The establishment was almost empty, except for a group of men at a corner table talking about crop yields and cattle prices. Anna sat at the counter and ordered a coffee with cheese bread. "You must be the new teacher," said the waitress, a young woman no older than 20 with a friendly smile. "I'm Patricia. My younger brother will be your student. Everyone is already talking about the teacher from the city." "How fast news travels here," Anna commented, surprised. "In Hopewell, even the wind gossips," Patricia laughed. "But don't worry, the people here are good folk. A little too curious, perhaps." It was then that the cafe door opened, and the hanging bell jingled, announcing a new customer. Anna didn't turn around, but she noticed that the atmosphere subtly changed. Conversations lowered in tone, and Patricia straightened her posture. "Good afternoon, Mr. Gabriel," the waitress greeted. "Good afternoon, Patricia. The usual, please." His voice was deep but soft. Anna felt a strange impulse to look, and when she did, she found a pair of dark brown eyes watching her with a quiet curiosity. He was a tall man, probably in his 40s, with black hair slightly graying at the temples, skin tanned from outdoor work. He was dressed simply, jeans, a blue plaid shirt with sleeves rolled up to his elbows, leather boots. There was an austerity in his countenance, but also a kindness that seemed to bloom naturally when he smiled slightly at her. "You must be Anna Louise," he said, extending his hand. "Gabriel Morrison, I'm a member of the school board. Welcome to Hopewell." His hand was calloused and warm, his grip firm without being intimidating. Anna felt a slight tremor run down her spine, something she hadn't experienced in a long time, something she had promised herself never to feel again. "Thank you," she replied, perhaps withdrawing her hand too quickly. "I arrived today. And what do you think of our town so far?" "It's peaceful?" Gabriel smiled as if understanding the euphemism. "Peaceful is a gentle way of saying nothing ever happens here," he commented. "But it has its advantages. You know everyone by name. Children can play in the street without worry. And the stars. The stars seem so close at night that it feels like you can touch them." There was a genuine passion in his voice when he spoke of the town, a devotion to the place that Anna envied. How long had it been since she felt a sense of belonging anywhere? "Daddy!" A child's voice interrupted the moment. A girl of about 8, with curly hair tied in 2 braids, ran into the cafe. "Uncle Sebastian said Tulip is going to have puppies." Gabriel smiled, a smile that lit up his entire face, transforming it. "Clara, where are your brothers?" "Michael is at the pharmacy buying Grandma Rose's medicine, John is at the bookstore, and Matthew stayed at the general store." Only then did the girl notice Anna and observe her with curious eyes. "Hi." "Hi," Anna replied, charmed by the child's spontaneity. "I'm Anna." "You're pretty," Clara declared with the brutal honesty of children. "Are you going to be my teacher?" "Clara." Gabriel reprimanded her gently, visibly embarrassed. "Sorry, she's very direct." Anna laughed, a genuine laugh that surprised even herself. "It's okay. And yes, Clara, I'll be your teacher if you're in 3rd grade." "I'm in 2nd," the girl replied, disappointed. "But Michael is in 3rd?" Gabriel paid for the coffee Patricia had served in a to-go cup and said goodbye with a nod. "I'll see you at school then. If you need anything, my farm is 3 kilometers out of town, down the South Road. Everyone knows how to get there." As he left, Anna noticed the glances that followed him, especially from a group of women who had just entered. Among them, an elegant woman of about 50 stood out, with impeccably dyed blonde hair, an expensive dress, and discreet but visibly authentic jewelry. "Who is that?" Anna asked Patricia, subtly indicating the blonde woman. "Mrs. Eleanor Maxwell," Patricia replied in a low voice. "Widow of the former bank owner, the richest woman in town. They say she's had her eye on Mr. Gabriel ever since his wife passed away 3 years ago." The weekend passed quickly, between unpacking her few belongings and preparing materials for classes. On Monday, Anna woke before her alarm, anxious. She put on a simple navy blue cotton dress and tied her brown hair in a low bun. She looked at herself in the mirror and saw a 32-year-old woman with tired but determined green eyes. She was no longer the naive young woman who had fallen in love with Marcus at 23, nor the faded woman he had transformed her into over the years. She was someone new, someone still under construction. Maplewood Elementary School was modest, with 6 classrooms, a small library, a staff room, and the principal's office. The principal, Martha Oliver, an energetic woman in her 50s, welcomed her with enthusiasm. "We need some new blood around here," she said, showing her the facilities. "I know you come from the city. You must be used to more structured schools, but what we lack in resources we make up for in heart." Anna smiled. "I came here precisely looking for something different. I'm eager to start." The 3rd grade classroom had 17 students between 8 and 9 years old. Among them, Anna immediately recognized Michael, Gabriel's son. The boy had his father's same eyes, but there was a seriousness in him that seemed beyond his age. When she introduced herself, Michael watched her with a neutral, almost evaluative expression. The day passed without major incidents. The children welcomed her with the natural curiosity of their age, fascinated by the teacher from the city. In the late afternoon, as she organized her materials, Anna heard a soft knock at the classroom door. It was Gabriel. "How was your first day?" he asked, leaning against the doorframe. "Better than I expected," she replied sincerely. "They are adorable children. Even Michael. He can be a little reserved." Anna smiled. "He reminds me of someone." Gabriel lowered his gaze, a melancholic smile on his lips. "Yes, he's like me at that age. Even more so after Helen." He didn't complete the sentence, but it wasn't necessary. Anna felt immediate empathy. She knew the pain of loss, though in different ways. "Clara hasn't stopped talking about you all weekend," Gabriel commented, changing the subject. "I think she's found a new role model." "She's a charming child." "She's the youngest, born when Helen was already ill. She never really got to know her mother." There was a note of sorrow in his voice. "I keep wondering if she misses a female presence." The comment hung in the air between them, laden with a meaning neither dared to address. Anna looked away, suddenly aware of the closeness between them. "I should go," she said, collecting her bag. "I still have lessons to prepare." Gabriel nodded. "Of course. And I need to get back to the farm before it gets dark. I have 4 children waiting for dinner." "You cook for them?" "I try," he laughed. "But I confess that Rosie, our housekeeper, is the one who really saves the day. Without her, we'd probably be living on sandwiches and fried eggs." Anna felt a comfortable warmth seeing that big, strong man talking so simply about his domestic limitations. It was a stark contrast to Marcus, who considered any household chore woman's work and treated any difficulty as an affront to his masculinity. In the days that followed, Anna settled into the small town's routine. Mornings at school, afternoons preparing lessons or grading papers at the cafe or in the square. Occasionally, she crossed paths with Gabriel in town, always accompanied by one or more of his children. They exchanged smiles, sometimes brief conversations, nothing beyond the expected cordiality between a father and his child's teacher. But Anna noticed the glances, the whispers when she passed, the way Mrs. Eleanor watched her with calculating eyes during school events, the way some single or widowed mothers seemed to evaluate Gabriel as a prize to be won. It was on a Friday, almost a month after her arrival, that the first moment of true closeness happened. The sky suddenly darkened in the afternoon, and when the bell rang announcing the end of classes, a violent storm broke over Hopewell. Parents rushed to pick up their children, and the school soon emptied, except for the staff. Anna was packing her materials when she realized she had forgotten her umbrella. The rain fell in dense curtains, and the distance to the inn, though short, would ensure she arrived soaked. "Need a ride?" She turned, surprised, and found Gabriel standing at the classroom door, his clothes damp, indicating he had run in the rain. "The boys are with Rosie today," he explained. "I just came to pick up Clara." The girl was by his side, wrapped in a yellow raincoat, looking like a small lamp lit in the corridor darkened by the storm. I forgot my umbrella," Anna admitted, feeling strangely vulnerable. "We can drop you off at the inn," he offered. "The car is right there." It was a dark blue pickup truck, large and robust. Gabriel helped Clara into the back seat and opened the passenger door for Anna, holding an umbrella over her as they walked to the vehicle. The kindness of the gesture, so natural for him and so extraordinary for her, made her heart race. The short ride to the inn was filled with Clara's lively chatter about a science project. When they arrived, the rain had intensified even more, turning the streets into small streams. "I'll walk you to the door," Gabriel said, taking the umbrella. "You don't have to. I can run," Anna weakly protested. "And arrive soaked? What kind of gentleman would I be?" There was a playful glint in his eyes, something she rarely saw. "I'm coming too," Clara declared, already opening her door. "No, darling. Stay here. I'll be right back." Under the umbrella, the two walked quickly to the inn's porch. The proximity was almost electric, his arm occasionally brushing hers. As they reached the shelter of the porch, they turned to each other almost simultaneously. "Thank you," Anna said, her voice lower than she intended. Gabriel looked at her differently now, more intense, more personal. "It was my pleasure." Thunder rumbled in the distance, momentarily illuminating his face. Anna realized she had never been so close to Gabriel before. She could see the small wrinkles at the corners of his eyes, the stubble that shadowed his strong jawline, feel the warmth emanating from him, mixed with the smell of wet earth and wood. For a moment, a single, dizzying moment, she was sure he was going to kiss her. She saw in his eyes the same desire that she felt simmering in her own blood. Time seemed to stretch, to freeze. She allowed herself to want for the first time in a long time. But then Clara honked from the truck, a long, impatient honk, and the moment dissolved like smoke in the wind. Gabriel took a step back, running a hand through his damp hair. I need to go. See you Monday." Anna merely nodded, unable to trust her own voice. She watched him run back to the car, get in, and start the engine. The truck disappeared under the curtain of rain, leaving her alone with a whirlwind of long-dormant feelings. That night, lying in her bed, listening to the rain beat against the inn's roof, Anna faced a truth she had been trying to deny since arriving, in Hopewell. She was falling in love with Gabriel Morrison, and that terrified her more than any storm. The Hopewell sky dawned clear after the storm, as if the night had washed away every hurt, every secret. Anna watched from her bedroom window as she braided her still damp hair, her thoughts inevitably gravitating towards Gabriel and the almost kiss under the porch. How long had it been since she felt this way? Alive, awake, with that electricity running under her skin? It was frightening, like stepping onto a minefield after years in safe territory. Safe, but arid. Sterile, like her. That Saturday morning, she decided to walk to the small market held in the central square. The air was fresh, perfumed by the scent of wet earth and freshly baked bread coming from Mr. Anthony's bakery. She bought some fruit, a piece of local cheese, and still warm cheese bread. She intended to spend the weekend grading papers and reading, locked away in her refuge at the inn. "Teacher Anna!" The child's voice caught her by surprise. Clara ran towards her, her curls bouncing like springs, closely followed by a boy of about 12, whom Anna recognized as John, Gabriel's second son. "Hi, Clara," she smiled, feeling an inexplicable warmth at seeing that radiant little face. "We're going on a picnic at the waterfall," Clara announced, pointing to a basket John was carrying. "Daddy said you can come too if you want." Anna felt her stomach flip. "Is your father here?" "Over there, buying things for the picnic," John replied, pointing to the other side of the market. Anna spotted Gabriel talking to a sausage vendor. He was wearing jeans and a simple white t-shirt that contrasted with his tanned skin, his hair slightly disheveled by the morning breeze. Beside him was Michael, the eldest son, whose serious expression contrasted with his siblings' joy. "I don't know if it would be appropriate," Anna began, but Clara was already pulling her hand. "Please, it'll be fun. The waterfall is the most beautiful place in Hopewell." Before she could answer, they were already in front of Gabriel, who looked at her with a mixture of surprise and something that could be joy. "Good morning," he said, with that deep voice that made something vibrate inside her. "Clara has already invited you to our family picnic, I see." "I told her she could go, Daddy," Clara declared, with the confidence of someone who never considered the possibility of a no as an answer. Gabriel cast an apologetic glance at Anna. "You don't have to feel obligated. I know you must have your plans for Saturday." "Actually," Anna hesitated. The sensible thing would be to refuse, to keep her distance, to protect herself. But there was something in his eyes, in Clara's hopeful expression, that made her want to be a little reckless. "I'd love to see this famous waterfall." Gabriel's smile lit up his face, causing small wrinkles to appear at the corners of his eyes. Anna noticed, however, that Michael did not share his siblings' enthusiasm. The boy watched her with a cautious, almost protective expression. An hour later, Gabriel's truck wound its way down a dirt road that cut through green pastures. The 4 children were in the back seat: Clara, John, Michael, and the youngest, Matthew, a shy 7-year-old who spoke little but observed everything with curious eyes. "Sorry for the sudden invitation," Gabriel said, keeping his eyes on the road. "The children have been insisting on going to the waterfall since the weather improved, and Clara wouldn't stop talking about wanting to show you the place." "No problem. I really needed some fresh air." He glanced at her. "How are you adapting to Hopewell?" "Better than I expected," Anna replied sincerely. "It's peaceful here." "Is peaceful a euphemism for boring?" She laughed. "No, it's exactly what I needed. Peace." Something in her voice must have revealed more than she intended, for Gabriel looked at her more lingeringly this time, with a silent question in his eyes. "London wasn't a peaceful place for you?" Anna felt the familiar clenching in her stomach that always happened when the subject approached her past. "Let's just say I left some things behind that I prefer not to revisit." Gabriel nodded, without pressing. "Sometimes we need to step away to find ourselves again." The phrase hung between them, laden with an understanding that went beyond words. The waterfall was, indeed, stunning. Nestled among moss-covered rock formations and ferns, the crystal-clear water plunged from a height of about 10 meters, forming a natural pool of turquoise waters. The place was practically deserted, except for a few families who had spread their towels by the water's edge. "It's beautiful," Anna murmured, enchanted by the wild beauty of the place. Gabriel smiled, pleased with her reaction. "I've been coming here since I was a child. It still amazes me every time." The children soon ran off to explore, while the 2 adults chose a spot under the shade of a large tree to spread out the picnic blanket. Clara and Matthew played in the shallow part of the natural pool, John examined some rocks near the waterfall, and Michael, further away, read a book sitting on a rock. "Michael has always been the most reserved," Gabriel commented, following Anna's gaze. "After Helen died, he closed himself off even more. He feels he needs to be the man of the house when I'm not around, to look after his siblings." "How old was he?" 10. He was very attached to his mother." Gabriel sighed, starting to take items out of the basket. "Sometimes I think I'm failing them, especially Clara. A girl needs a female figure, doesn't she?" Anna felt a pang in her chest. "You're raising 4 children alone, Gabriel. Where I come from, that's being a hero, not a failure." He smiled sadly. "Heroism is a lonely thing, you know." Their eyes met, and Anna felt that same electricity from the night before running through her skin. For an instant, she had the impression he was going to touch her face, but the moment was interrupted by Clara's sharp cry. "Daddy, look what we found." The rest of the day unfolded in an almost magical bubble of simplicity. They ate, laughed, explored the area around the waterfall. Anna was surprised to see how Gabriel transformed completely with his children. Playful, patient, present. Even Michael eventually joined the activities, though he maintained a polite distance from Anna. It was late afternoon, as they were packing up to leave, that Anna noticed the presence of Eleanor Maxwell and a small group of women from the town in a nearby area. The elegant widow watched her with a cold, calculating smile. "It seems the teacher is settling in quickly," she commented loudly enough to be heard, eliciting giggles from her companions. Anna felt her face burn, but pretended not to hear. Gabriel, however, had noticed the comment and frowned. "Ignore it," he said in a low voice. "Eleanor has always been territorial." "With you?" The question escaped before she could contain it. Gabriel looked away, embarrassed. "Helen was her second cousin," he explained. "Eleanor never approved of our marriage. After Helen died, she somehow convinced herself that she would be the natural candidate to take her place." "And you're not interested," Anna concluded, trying to ignore the relief she felt. "Eleanor sees marriage as a business transaction, and I've had true love once in my life." He paused, his eyes lost in the waterfall. "But that doesn't mean there can't be other beginnings." The look they exchanged this time was different, deeper, more deliberate. Anna felt something bloom in her chest, a forgotten sense of possibility. The following week, life in Hopewell took on new contours for Anna. Her classes became more vibrant, her interaction with students, especially Michael, became more fluid. Occasionally, she encountered Gabriel at school dismissal or in the cafe, and their conversations, though brief, now carried a subtext of growing intimacy. The town, however, watched. Whispers followed her through the streets. Curious glances, some friendly, others not so much. Life in a small community meant living under constant scrutiny, Anna learned. Eleanor Maxwell, in particular, seemed determined to mark her territory. She visited the school frequently, always finding some reason to subtly criticize the new methodologies of the teacher. From the city, it was on a rainy Wednesday that the accident happened. Anna was in the staff room when she heard a commotion in the courtyard. Matthew, Gabriel's youngest son, had fallen from the top of the slide and hit his head. When Anna arrived at the scene, the boy was conscious but dazed, a trickle of blood running from his temple. "Call his father," someone said. "Does anyone have the farm number?" Anna acted on instinct. "I do. I'll call him. In the meantime, we need to stop the bleeding." 20 minutes later, Gabriel arrived at the school, his face pale with worry. Anna had managed to calm Matthew, cleaned the wound, and applied ice. The boy was lying on a sofa in the principal's office, looking small and vulnerable. "How is he?" Gabriel asked, kneeling beside his son. "The cut isn't deep, but I think he should see a doctor," Anna replied. "He might have a concussion." Gabriel nodded, picking up his son in his arms with touching gentleness. "I'll take him to the local clinic." He looked at Anna with sincere gratitude. "Thank you for taking care of him." "There's nothing to thank me for." "Anna." He hesitated. "Could you come with us? Matthew seems comfortable with you, and I'm not very good in medical situations." There was a vulnerability in his request that Anna couldn't refuse. "Of course." The doctor at the local clinic, Dr. Paul, was an elderly man with calm manners. He examined Matthew carefully, asking questions that the boy answered in a low voice. "There doesn't seem to be a concussion," he concluded. "But I'll put a few stitches in that cut, and he should be observed tonight. If he feels dizzy, vomits, or is excessively sleepy, bring him back, immediately." While the doctor applied the stitches, Anna and Gabriel waited in the small waiting room. The silence between them was comfortable, yet heavy with something unsaid. "You're good with children," Gabriel commented finally. Matthew usually doesn't trust strangers so easily. I'm not a stranger. I'm his brother's teacher. Gabriel smiled. It's more than that, and you know it. The look they exchanged made Anna's heart race. There was an intensity in it that both frightened and attracted her. Gabriel, Daddy? Matthew's voice interrupted the moment. The doctor had finished the stitches, and the boy looked tired but well. Let's go home, champ, Gabriel said, picking him up again. Is Aunt Anna coming too? The innocent question hung in the air, laden with meaning. Gabriel looked at Anna, a silent question in his eyes. I think you should rest at home with your dad, Anna replied softly. But I can visit you tomorrow to see how you are. How about that? Matthew nodded, satisfied. Gabriel looked at her with a gratitude that went beyond words. The next day, after school, Anna headed to Morrison Farm for the first time. The property was about 3 kilometers from town, accessible by a well-maintained dirt road. As she approached, she glimpsed a large colonial-style house, painted in shades of ochre and terracotta, surrounded by well-tended gardens and a wide porch. In the background, stables, sheds, and pastures stretched as far as the eye could see. Rosie, the housekeeper Gabriel had mentioned, greeted her at the door. She was a robust woman, with calloused hands and a welcoming smile. Little Master Matthew is in the living room, all excited about your visit, she informed her. I've never seen that child so talkative. The living room was spacious, with old but well-preserved furniture and large windows that let in the golden light of the late afternoon. Matthew was on the sofa, a bandage on his forehead, flipping through a picture book. His eyes lit up when he saw Anna. You really came? I promised, didn't I? She smiled, sitting beside him. How are you feeling? Better. Daddy said I'm brave like a lion. Anna spent almost an hour with Matthew, who seemed to blossom with her attention. Soon Clara and John joined them, and the room was filled with laughter and animated conversations. Only Michael kept his distance, watching from the stairs with a neutral expression. Gabriel arrived at dusk, coming from the fields. There was dust on his boots and the smell of sun on his skin. His eyes softened at the sight in the living room. His children gathered around Anna, who was reading a story from one of the family's small library books. Sorry I'm late, he said, approaching. We had a problem with the cattle in the east pasture. It's all right, Anna replied, feeling strangely at ease in that domestic environment. Matthew is doing great. Stay for dinner, Rosie declared from the kitchen door, in a tone that allowed no refusal. It's almost ready. Dinner was a simple but tasty meal: country chicken with okra and polenta, fluffy rice, garden salad. Conversation flowed naturally, even Michael eventually joining discussions about books and movies. There was a domesticity in the scene that made Anna's heart ache, not with sadness, but with a kind of longing for something she had never had. After dinner, the children retired for their evening tasks, and Gabriel invited Anna to have coffee on the porch. The night was clear, the sky dotted with stars as Anna had never seen in London. You were right, she commented, looking up at the firmament. The stars here seem within reach. Gabriel watched her with an expression that made her heart skip a beat. Thank you for coming today. The children, they light up around you. They're wonderful children, Gabriel. You've done a great job with them. I didn't do it alone. Rosie has been like a grandmother to them since they were born. He paused, looking at the coffee cup in his hands. Still, I feel like something is missing for them. Something that only a mother? Anna completed, feeling a knot form in her throat. Gabriel looked at her, surprised by her frankness. Yes, a constant female presence, someone who can, love as only a mother knows how. The silence that followed was heavy with unspoken meanings. Anna felt tears threaten to surface, thinking of the cruelty of fate. Here was a man who needed someone to love his children, and she, a woman who could never have her own. "Gabriel, I need to tell you something," she began, her voice trembling. "Something about me that you should know before—" "Dad?" Michael's voice came from the porch door, interrupting the moment. The boy stood there, his face a mask of conflicting emotions. "Matthew is calling you. He wants you to read his bedtime story tonight." "I'm coming, son." Gabriel stood up, casting an apologetic glance at Anna. "I'll be back in a minute." When he disappeared into the house, Michael remained, staring at Anna with disconcerting intensity. "What do you want with my family?" he asked abruptly. Anna felt as if she had been slapped. "What?" "You come here, and suddenly everyone is acting differently. Clara won't stop talking about you. Matthew waits at the window to see if you show up. Even John, who only cares about books, keeps asking if you're coming back." His voice trembled slightly. "And my dad looks at you like—" "Michael," Anna tried, feeling her heart clench at the boy's evident pain. "I'm not trying to take anyone's place. My mom died 3 years ago," he continued, as if he hadn't heard her. "And all that time, it was like a piece of our family died too. But we were starting to be okay. And then you show up, and it's like everyone is forgetting." "No one is forgetting your mother," Anna said softly, standing up to meet his eyes. "No one could ever replace her." Michael looked at her, his eyes bright with suppressed tears. "You don't know my dad. You don't know how he was with her, how much they loved each other." "I'm not trying to compete with a memory, Michael." "Then what do you want?" The question was raw, direct, painful. Anna hesitated. What did she want after all? She had fled London to escape a destructive marriage, vowing never to get romantically involved again. And now, here she was, getting involved not just with a man, but with an entire family. "I don't know," she replied honestly. "But I can promise you one thing. I would never do anything to hurt your father or you all." Michael studied her for a long moment, as if trying to determine her sincerity. Finally, he nodded slightly. "My dad suffered a lot when my mom died," he said, his voice more controlled now. "I don't want to see him suffer again." Before Anna could reply, Gabriel returned to the porch. He immediately noticed the tension in the air. "Is everything all right here?" "Yes," Michael replied, casting a last meaningful glance at Anna. "I was just asking the teacher about a book she mentioned in class." The boy left, leaving the two adults alone again. Gabriel seemed uncertain, feeling he had missed something important. "Anna, about what we were talking about." "It's getting late," she interrupted him, suddenly scared by the direction the night was taking. "I should go back to the inn." Gabriel seemed disappointed but didn't insist. "Of course. I'll get the truck keys." The ride back was silent, each lost in their own thoughts. When they arrived at the inn, Gabriel parked and made to get out to open the door for her, but Anna stopped him, with a gentle touch on his arm. "You don't have to. I need some time, Gabriel." He looked at her for a long time, a myriad of emotions passing across his face. "Time for what, Anna?" "To understand what I'm feeling. To be sure I'm not making a mistake." She hesitated, then added, "To be sure I won't hurt your family." Gabriel nodded slowly, understanding. "The conversation with Michael upset you. He's just protecting what he loves. I can't blame him for that." "And what about me? Don't I have the right to protect what I might come to? Love." There was an intensity in his voice that made Anna's heart race. "Because that's what's happening, Anna. I'm falling in love with you, and I think you're feeling something too." The words hung between them, laden with truth and possibility. Anna felt her chest tighten, with a mixture of joy and fear. "I need to go," she whispered, opening the door. "Good night, Gabriel." That night, lying in her bed, Anna could barely sleep. Her thoughts spun like an uncontrolled carousel. Gabriel's face when he confessed his feelings, Michael's accusing eyes, the warm reception of the other children, the invisible scar she carried since her infertility diagnosis. How could she offer Gabriel a complete family if she couldn't even give him children of her own? The next morning, a letter arrived at the inn. Anna immediately recognized the handwriting on the envelope and felt her blood run cold. Marcus had found her. The paper trembled in Anna's hands as her eyes scanned the words written in that handwriting she knew so well, angular, strong, dominant, like Marcus himself. "I know where you are. I know what you're trying to do. A wife belongs to her husband, Anna. You owe me obedience. I'll be arriving soon to take you home where you belong." There was no plea, no regret. Just the same cold authority as always, the absolute certainty that she was property to be reclaimed. Anna sat on the bed, feeling nausea rise in her throat. 7 years of marriage had gradually turned into a prison. At first, they were small things, subtle criticisms of her appearance, her work as a teacher, her friendships. Then came the isolation, the private humiliations, the control over every aspect of her life. The discovery that she couldn't have children was the final blow. Marcus had turned her into a defective object, a walking disappointment. "You're not even good for that," he would say. "What kind of woman can't give her husband children?" Anna took a deep breath, trying to control the tremor that took over her body. She couldn't let panic overwhelm her. Not now, when she was finally rebuilding something, when she was finally starting to feel human again. That morning, she went to school as if nothing had happened. She smiled at her students, conducted classes with the same dedication as always, feigning a normalcy she was far from feeling. She avoided Gabriel when she saw him in the hallway, mumbling an excuse about papers to grade. His confession the night before, "I'm falling in love with you," now seemed a distant dream, something that belonged to another life, one she had no right to aspire to. The days that followed were an exercise in self-control. Anna tried to maintain her routine while constantly watching the streets of Hopewell, fearing at any moment to see Marcus's car parked on a corner. She stopped going to the cafe, to the general store, to any public place where she could be easily found. She politely refused Gabriel's invitation for another family picnic, inventing an indisposition. It was Mrs. Zelia who first noticed the change. One evening, while Anna barely touched the dinner served at the inn, the old woman sat across from her with that penetrating gaze that seemed to see into her soul. "When a little bird that was beginning to sing goes back to hide in its nest, it's because it saw the hawk in the sky," she said simply. "Who is your hawk, child?" Anna felt her eyes sting. How to explain? How to tell her that her hawk was the man who had sworn to love and protect her before God and men? "Someone from my past," she replied vaguely. "Someone I prefer not to meet again." Mrs. Zelia nodded without pressing. "The past is ground we've already walked on. You can't live looking back or you'll trip on the path ahead." She covered Anna's hand with her own, calloused and warm. "And there are people here in Hopewell who would very much like to walk that path with you." The old woman's words echoed in Anna's mind long after she retired to her room. It was true. Gabriel was offering not only his heart, but a future, a family, something she never thought she deserved again. And now, when she finally had the courage to consider the possibility, the past threatened to snatch everything from her hands. Marcus's arrival in Hopewell was exactly as Anna feared, a carefully orchestrated spectacle. He appeared on a sunny morning, driving his imported car through the cobblestone streets of the small town. He parked in front of the cafe, wearing an impeccable suit that screamed money and power. Soon he was surrounded by curious onlookers, charming them with his practiced smile and elaborate stories. Anna knew of his arrival even before seeing him. Whispers spread through the school like fire in dry straw. "Teacher, Anna's husband has arrived," they said. "An important businessman from London. He came to take her back." Michael was the first of the Morrisons to tell her. He approached her after class, his face serious, but without the hostility of previous days. "There's a man in town saying he's your husband," he said without preamble. "He's at the cafe telling everyone how you had a nervous breakdown and ran away during treatment. He says he came to take you back." "Home." Anna felt the blood drain from her face. It was exactly the kind of story Marcus would invent, to turn her into the unstable, sick wife, to justify any behavior she might have. "He's lying," Anna replied, her voice firmer than she expected. "I didn't have any breakdown. I left home because—" She hesitated, uncertain how much she should reveal to a 13-year-old boy. "Because he didn't treat you well," Michael completed, surprising her. "You can see it in your eyes when you talk about him. It's the same look the neighbor's dog has when someone raises a stick near him." The simple, raw analogy hit Anna like a punch. Was that what she had become? Someone so conditioned by fear that she carried it stamped on her gaze? "Michael, I need you to do me a favor," she asked, bending down to meet his eyes. "Don't tell your father about this yet. I'll talk to him myself." Michael studied her for a moment. "You really like my dad, don't you?" The question caught Anna off guard. Yes, I like him very much. And you don't want him to get hurt." "I don't want anyone to get hurt." Anna felt her throat tighten. "Especially you, the children." Michael nodded slowly. "I won't tell, but I think you should, before he hears it from someone else." The boy's advice was sensible, but Anna didn't have the opportunity to follow it. In the late afternoon, as she prepared to leave school, she saw Marcus standing at the gate, talking animatedly with Eleanor Maxwell. The widow seemed absolutely delighted, laughing at something he said, occasionally touching his arm in a gesture of calculated intimacy. Anna froze, her folder of papers slipping from her trembling hands. In 7 years of marriage, she had learned to read the signs. The way Marcus slightly tilted his head, the smile that didn't reach his eyes, the relaxed posture that masked an underlying tension. He was furious, and he was there to take her. Silently retreating, Anna went back inside the building, exiting through the back and taking an alternative route to the inn. Her mind worked frantically, evaluating options. Could she flee again? Take a bus to another town, another state? But where would she get the money? How long until Marcus found her again? She arrived at the inn out of breath, running straight to her room. Her hands trembled so much she could barely turn the key in the lock. When she finally closed the door, she leaned against it, trying to calm her breathing. It was then she noticed someone had been there. Her few belongings, usually precisely organized, were slightly displaced. The dresser drawer was ajar. Her diary, where she had started writing since arriving in Hopewell, was no longer under her pillow. The realization hit her like lightning. Marcus had access to the room. He had probably convinced Mrs. Zelia that he was the concerned husband, come to retrieve his sick wife. Anna grabbed her bag, stuffed in a few pieces of clothing and her documents, and went downstairs silently. She needed to get out of there, find a safe place to think, but where to go? With few options, she headed to the only place in Hopewell where she felt truly safe: the school. The building would be empty at that hour, but she still had the key the principal had entrusted to her to prepare materials on weekends. Night was falling when Anna settled into the staff room. She locked the door, turned off the lights, and sat in a corner, hugging her knees to her chest. She needed a plan. She needed help. But who could help her against a man who, in the eyes of society and the law, was her legitimate husband. The phone in her bag vibrated, startling her. It was a message from Gabrielle. "Anna, we need to talk. I'm worried. Can I stop by the inn later?" She hesitated. Telling Gabriel the truth meant involving him in her problems, potentially putting him on a collision course with Marcus. But hiding meant continuing to flee, continuing to be a victim. Before she could reply, she heard footsteps in the corridor. Heavy, determined. She recognized them immediately, and a cold terror spread through her veins. She crouched further into the corner, praying he hadn't followed her there. The doorknob turned, once, twice. Then came the knocks, first polite, then insistent. "Anna, I know you're in there." Marcus's voice, soft and controlled, more frightening than any shout. "Be reasonable, darling. I've come to take you home for your treatment." She remained silent, her heart beating so hard she feared he could hear it from the other side of the door. "Anna." The voice was harder now, an implicit warning. "Don't make me lose my patience. You know what happens when I lose my patience." The silence stretched for a few seconds, and then came the sound she most feared, the jingle of keys. Of course, he would have gotten a copy from the principal or some staff member, presenting himself as the devoted husband. The door opened and Marcus entered, his silhouette outlined against the faint light of the corridor. Tall, athletic, impeccably dressed as always. The man she once thought was her Prince Charming, before discovering the monster beneath the mask. "There you are," he said, closing the door behind him. "What game is this, Anna? Running away, hiding in a small town, pretending to be single? Do you have any idea of the embarrassment you've caused me?" Anna stood up, her legs trembling, but determined not to show weakness. "I'm not playing any games, Marcus. I'm rebuilding my life, away from you." He laughed, a humorless sound. "Your life? What life would you have without me, Anna? A primary school teacher earning a pittance, living in a dilapidated inn?" He took a step forward. "Or perhaps you're thinking of changing providers. That rustic farmer seems quite interested. Eleanor told me all about your little romance." "There's no romance," Anna replied, taking a step back. "No? That's not what the whole town is buzzing about," the city teacher eyeing the rich widower. Marcus smiled, that smile that didn't reach his eyes. "I bet you haven't told him about your deficiency, about how you're less than a complete woman." Anna felt shame and anger rise up her neck, heating her face. "What I have or don't have is none of your business anymore, Marcus. Our marriage ended the day you turned my medical condition into a weapon against me. Our marriage will end when I say it ends." He took another step forward. "You are my wife, before the law and God, and you're coming back with me to London tomorrow." Anna backed up until she felt the cold wall against her back. There was nowhere to run. "I'm not going anywhere with you." Marcus's face hardened, the mask of civility beginning to slip. "Don't challenge me, Anna. You know you won't like the consequences." He took another step, and she smelled the familiar scent of his expensive cologne, mixed with the odor of whiskey. He had been drinking. Drunk Marcus was even more dangerous, more unpredictable. "If you don't come willingly, you'll come unwillingly," he continued, his voice now a threatening whisper. "I don't mind having to drag you out of here. Everyone already believes you're mentally unstable anyway." He stretched out his arm to grab her, and Anna reacted instinctively, pushing him with all the strength she could muster. Marcus stumbled backward, surprised by her unexpected resistance, and tripped over a chair. Taking advantage of the momentary distraction, Anna ran for the door, but he was faster. He grabbed her arm with enough force to leave. Marcus, spinning her around to face him. "You ungrateful tramp! After everything I've done for you!" The slap came without warning, hard enough to snap her head to the side and bring involuntary tears to her eyes. Anna tasted the metallic tang of blood from her split lip. "You're not going anywhere!" Marcus snarled, holding her by both arms now, shaking her like a rag doll. "You're coming back with me even if I have to drag you." "Let her go." The voice, young but firm, came from the door that had been left ajar. Michael stood there, his face, pale but determined, his fists clenched at his sides. Marcus turned, surprised by the interruption, without releasing Anna. "Go away, kid. This is a matter between husband and wife." "That's not what it looks like," Michael replied, taking a step into the room. "It looks like you're hurting Teacher Anna, and I won't let you." Marcus laughed, a cruel, disdainful sound. "You? And what do you think you can do, runt?" "I can scream," Michael said with surprising calm. "And everyone on the street will hear, including my dad, who's looking for Teacher Anna right now." Anna immediately understood the boy's strategy. Gabriel probably wasn't even nearby, but the mere mention of his name made Marcus hesitate. "You wouldn't do that," Marcus tested, but his voice no longer held the same certainty. "Yes, I would," Michael replied, taking another step forward. "And if screaming doesn't work, I have this." He showed his cell phone in his hand. "I already called my dad. He's coming." It was a bluff. Anna could see it in the boy's eyes. But it was enough to make Marcus back off, releasing her arms. He looked from Anna to Michael, assessing the situation, calculating risks. "This isn't over," he said finally, adjusting his suit as if nothing had happened. "We'll continue our conversation tomorrow, darling, when we're alone." He left the room with controlled steps, casting one last venomous glance at Michael as he passed him. When the sound of his footsteps disappeared down the corridor, Anna's legs gave way, and she slid to the floor, her entire body trembling. Michael rushed to her, kneeling beside her. "Teacher Anna? Are you okay? Did he hurt you?" She touched her swollen lip, feeling the blood still fresh. "I'll be fine, Michael. How did you find me?" "I saw you running to school when I was coming back from John Peter's house," he explained. "You looked scared. And then I saw that man come in here too." He hesitated, looking at the floor. "I heard what he said. About you not being able to have children." Anna felt her face burn with shame. "Michael." "It doesn't matter." He interrupted her, looking her in the eyes with a seriousness beyond his age. "It doesn't make you any less of anything. It makes him an idiot for thinking it does." The boy's simple, direct words broke something inside. Anna. Tears began to stream down her face, years of contained shame and pain finally overflowing. "Come on," Michael said, helping her up. "Let's go home, to the farm. You'll be safe there." "I can't," Anna weakly protested. "That would put you all in danger. Marcus is unpredictable when crossed." "My dad will know what to do," Michael insisted with the unwavering confidence children have in their parents. "And the farm is big, with many employees. He won't be able to get to you there." Anna hesitated, torn between the desire for safety and the fear of involving Gabriel and his family in her personal problems. But her swollen lip and the bruises already starting to form on her arms reminded her that she didn't have many options. "All right," she finally agreed. "But only until I decide what to do next." Michael smiled, a genuine smile that lit up his young face. "Good, because I already messaged my dad. He's coming to pick us up." 20 minutes later, Gabriel's truck pulled up behind the school. His face was tense, his dark eyes burning with concern when he saw Anna's state. "Who did this to you?" His voice was low, controlled, but there was a latent fury there. "My husband," Anna replied, the words coming out like stones from her mouth. "Or rather, the man I fled from in London." Gabriel nodded slowly as if absorbing the information. There was no accusation in his gaze, only a fierce determination. "You're coming to the farm with us. Now." It wasn't a request, not even a suggestion. It was a certainty, a promise of protection. Anna got into the truck without protesting, feeling simultaneously exhausted and relieved. During the drive, Michael told his father what he had witnessed, while Anna looked out the window, watching the lights of Hopewell recede. At the farm, Rosie was already waiting on the porch, alerted by Gabriel. The woman led Anna to a guest room, helped her clean the wound on her lip, and provided clean clothes and hot tea. "Rest now," Rosie said, gently stroking Anna's hair as if she were a little girl. "Tomorrow things will seem clearer." But tomorrow brought new complications. News traveled fast in Hopewell. In the morning, Mrs. Zelia appeared at the farm, worried about Anna's sudden disappearance and the stories she was beginning to hear about the husband from the city. "I never trusted that man," the old woman declared as she drank coffee in the kitchen with Anna, Gabriel, and Rosie. "Eyes too cold. He smiles with his mouth but not with his eyes." "Did he say what he intends to do?" Gabriel asked, concern evident in his voice. "He said he's staying in Hopewell until he gets his wife back," Mrs. Zelia replied. "He's staying at Eleanor Maxwell's house, imagine that. The two are inseparable." Anna felt a shiver run down her spine. Eleanor had hated her from the first moment, for reasons that were now clear. Seeing her allied with Marcus was a nightmare materializing. "I need to go back to school," Anna said, getting up from the table. "I can't abandon my students." "It's not safe," Gabriel protested. "He might try something again." "Not in public," Anna replied, knowing Marcus's methods well. "He's too careful with his image to make a scene where others can see." "Still, I don't like it," Gabriel insisted. "At least let me drive you there and pick you up every day." Anna agreed, recognizing the wisdom of the proposal. Thus began a strange routine. Gabriel drove her to school in the morning and picked her up in the afternoon, while Anna focused on her students, trying to maintain normalcy. Marcus appeared a few times at the school gate, but never approached when he saw Gabriel nearby. It was on Friday, during the annual Harvest Festival held in the community hall, that everything exploded. The entire town attended the event, a tradition that blended a communal dinner, live music, and dancing. Anna had initially hesitated to go, but Gabriel insisted it would be good for the children, especially Clara, who had rehearsed a dance performance with her class. The hall was decorated with hay bales, pumpkins, corn cobs, and colorful lights hanging from the ceiling. There were long tables covered with checkered tablecloths, where residents placed the dishes they had brought to share. Music played in the background, while children ran among the adults, and couples of all ages chatted animatedly. Anna entered with Gabriel and the children, feeling strangely part of that improvised family. Clara held her hand, chattering about her performance, while Matthew and John ran ahead to find friends. Even Michael seemed relaxed, occasionally smiling at Anna with a newfound complicity. For a moment, Anna allowed herself to imagine a future there, among those people in that town, with that family. A future where her past wouldn't reach her, where her defect wouldn't define her. It was then that she saw Marcus. He was across the hall, elegant in a dark suit that stood out from the more casual clothes of the local residents. Beside him, Eleanor Maxwell smiled triumphantly, as if she were about to watch a spectacle she herself had orchestrated. Anna felt her blood run cold in her veins. Gabriel, sensing her sudden tension, followed her gaze and saw Marcus for the first time. His eyes narrowed, and she felt his arms stiffen around her. "Is that?" "Yes," Anna replied, her voice barely audible. "We'd better leave." "No," Gabriel replied firmly. "We won't run. Not in our town. Not in front of the children." Before Anna could protest, Marcus had noticed her presence. He smiled, that calculated smile she knew so well, and began to walk towards her, dragging Eleanor with him. "Anna, darling," he said as he approached, as if he were meeting an old friend and not the woman he had assaulted days earlier. "So good to see you here. I've been looking for you." "We have nothing to discuss, Marcus," Anna replied, trying to keep her voice firm despite the fear growing in her chest. "On the contrary," he insisted, his smile never wavering. "We have a lot to discuss. About your treatment, about our return to London." He looked at Gabriel, measuring him with his eyes. "And about your new friendships." Gabriel stepped forward, subtly placing himself between Anna and Marcus. "Gabriel Morrison," he introduced himself, extending his hand with icy formality. "And you must be Anna's ex-husband." "Ex?" Marcus laughed, ignoring the outstretched hand. "There's no such thing as ex, my dear. Anna and I are still legally married, and I intend to take my wife back home." "Anna isn't going anywhere she doesn't want to go," Gabriel replied, his voice low but laden with determination. Eleanor, who had remained silent until then, let out a disdainful laugh. "Oh, Gabriel, don't be naive. She's a married woman who ran away from her husband. What will people think if you continue to shelter her in your home, with your impressionable children around?" Anna felt the blush creep up her neck. Eleanor was insinuating the worst, trying to tarnish her and Gabriel's reputation in front of the entire community that was beginning to gather around them, drawn by the escalating tension. "Eleanor," Gabriel replied calmly, "I believe Anna's well-being is more important than small-town gossip. And as for my children, they are old enough to understand the concept of helping someone in need." Marcus smiled, but his eyes were cold. "Very noble of you, Morrison. But I wonder if you would remain so chivalrous if you knew the whole truth about my dear wife." Anna felt her heart stop. "Marcus, no. Did you know, for example," he continued, raising his voice so that everyone around could hear, "that Anna cannot have children, a barren womb, incapable of bearing life? What kind of woman fails her most basic function?" The silence that followed was absolute, as if all the oxygen had been sucked from the hall. Anna felt the ground open beneath her feet, shame and humiliation burning her skin like acid. Curious, surprised eyes, some pitying, others judgmental, all fixed on her, her most intimate secret, her deepest pain, exposed as entertainment for a scandal-hungry audience. She searched for words, any words, to defend herself, to explain, but her voice had disappeared, suffocated by humiliation. Tears threatened to fall, and she struggled to hold them back, refusing to give Marcus the satisfaction of seeing her break publicly. It was then that she felt a strong, calloused hand take hers. Gabriel had moved closer, intertwining his fingers with hers in a gesture as simple as it was powerful. "So what?" His voice echoed through the hall, firm and clear as a bell. "What does that matter?" Marcus seemed momentarily disconcerted by the unexpected response. "What do you mean, so what? A man like you with 4 children surely understands the importance of a fertile woman." Gabriel looked at Anna, then at his children, who watched the scene with expressions ranging from fear to anger, and finally back at Marcus. "Family is built with love. Children, I have enough," he declared, his voice resonating in the silence of the hall. "I have 4 children who need not more siblings, but someone to love them as they are, someone to teach them, to listen to them, to value them for what they have inside, not for what they can or cannot do." Anna looked at him, unable to believe what she was hearing. Gabriel continued, his eyes never leaving hers. "And if Anna cannot bear children, that does not make her less of a woman, less worthy of love or respect. It makes her someone who has much more to offer than just a functional womb." He turned to Marcus, contempt evident in his voice. "Only a very small man would define his wife's worth by her reproductive capacity." Michael stepped forward, positioning himself beside his father. Clara followed, taking Anna's free hand. John and Matthew joined them, forming a protective barrier around her. "Anna is under my protection now," Gabriel concluded, staring Marcus in the eyes. "And that of my entire family. If you have a problem with that, I suggest you go to the town sheriff's office. Sheriff Julian will be happy to hear about how you assaulted a woman at the elementary school." Eleanor gasped, shocked. Marcus narrowed his eyes, the mask of civility finally falling completely. "This isn't over," he snarled. "She's still my wife in the eyes of the law." "Not for long," Anna finally found her voice, strengthened by the support around her. "I already initiated divorce proceedings before I even left London. The papers should be arriving any moment." It was a lie, of course. She had fled without any legal action. But the momentary confusion on Marcus's face made the bluff worthwhile. He looked around, realizing he had lost control of the situation, that the audience he expected to see humiliated now watched him with evident disapproval. "Come on, Eleanor," he said finally, adjusting his suit in a nervous gesture. "There's nothing for us here." The two retreated, followed by disapproving glances. As soon as they left, Anna felt her legs weaken. Gabriel supported her, guiding her to a nearby bench. The people around, sensing the need for privacy, discreetly moved away, returning to their conversations and activities. "Let's go home," Gabriel suggested softly. "No," Anna replied, surprising herself. "We're not going to let him ruin everyone's night. Clara still has her performance, and She looked at him, at the children around, at the people of the community who now smiled at her with support and acceptance. "I don't want to run anymore." That night, under the colorful lights of the community hall, Anna danced for the first time in years. She danced with Gabriel, with Michael, with each of his children. She danced with Mrs. Zelia and with the other teachers from the school. She danced as a free woman, as someone who had finally found her place in the world. Marcus left the next morning, alone. Eleanor Maxwell tried to keep up appearances, but the damage to her reputation was done. The entire town had witnessed her alliance with a man who had assaulted a woman, who had publicly humiliated her. Anna formalized her divorce petition the following week, with the help of Hopewell's only lawyer. The process would be long, she knew, but for the first time she felt that the future was possible, palpable. The months that followed were a time of rebuilding. Anna officially moved to Morrison Farm, initially into a guest room, preserving appearances until her marital status was resolved. Her relationship with the children blossomed naturally. Clara saw her as the mother she had never known. Matthew and John quickly grew accustomed to her constant presence, and Michael, perhaps the most surprising transformation, became her fiercest defender, her confidant during afternoon reading sessions on the porch. With Gabriel, love grew like the plants in the garden they began to cultivate together, gradually, but with deep roots. There was no rush, no pressure. Just the quiet certainty that they had found something rare and precious in each other. Complete acceptance. Unconditional love. 6 months after the confrontation in the community hall on a golden autumn afternoon, Gabriel took her to the top of the hill overlooking the farm. The sun was setting on the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, while the gentle wind stirred Anna's loose hair. "I have something for you," he said, taking a small box from his pocket. Inside was a simple ring, a turquoise set in aged silver. It wasn't an ostentatious diamond like the one Marcus had given her years ago, but it was infinitely more precious. "I don't want another woman. I want you," Gabriel said, holding her hands, "because you taught me that care is worth more than blood." The tears Anna shed then were different from all the others she had ever cried. They were not of pain, nor of shame, nor of fear. They were tears of someone who was finally finding herself, who finally knew she was loved not despite her scars, but with them, through them. Yes, she replied simply, and it was enough. The wedding took place the following spring after the divorce was finalized. It was a simple ceremony in the Hopewell Church with the entire town present. Anna wore a light blue dress, wild flowers in her loose hair, and the most radiant smile anyone had ever seen. When she entered the church, it wasn't Gabriel who first greeted her. It was Michael. The teenager stood up from the first pew and, before everyone, declared loudly and firmly, "This is my mother." There wasn't a dry eye in the church at that moment. Anna walked down the aisle surrounded not only by music and flowers, but by the pure and undeniable love of that family that was now hers. The years that followed proved that second chances are not for recovering what was lost. They are for revealing who one was always meant to be. The farmhouse, once marked by the silence of grief, filled with music, laughter, life. The rooms gained new colors, the library expanded, the garden flourished under Anna and Clara's care. Michael graduated as the top student in his class and decided to study law, inspired by the experience of helping Anna with her divorce proceedings. John discovered a talent for painting that transformed the house walls into impromptu galleries. Matthew, once so shy, proved to be a natural storyteller, enchanting visitors with his elaborate narratives. And Clara, the youngest, blossomed under Anna's guidance, becoming a confident young woman who dreamed of being a teacher, like Mom. Anna continued teaching at Hopewell Elementary School, eventually becoming its principal. Under her leadership, the small rural school gained regional recognition for its innovative methods and exceptional results. Gabriel expanded the farm, but never at the expense of time with his family. Evenings were still sacred, for long dinners, conversations by lamplight on the porch, board games that invariably ended in laughter. Sometimes, usually on the quietest nights, Anna thought of the frightened young woman who had arrived in Hopewell years ago, carrying only a suitcase and a broken heart. She thought of the winding path that had brought her there, of the scars she still carried, visible and invisible. And she always concluded that she wouldn't change anything. Because true love doesn't ask what's missing, it embraces what is whole, even in the scars. And Anna finally felt whole, complete, not despite her past, but because of it, because of the journey that had led her into Gabriel's arms, into the heart of that family, into the center of that community that was now her home. And that was the greatest revelation of all. It wasn't necessary to bear life to create it, nurture it, celebrate it. There were as many ways to be a mother as there were to be a woman, and Anna had found hers.